Hello. Have you ever wondered how you're going to restrict the use of a check account that is being created at the top level and can only be used at that level and can never be used as a payment at entity level? So you can address that by restricting the um, check account itself. So if you have even the restriction on the check account. Let's say this check account is only available at entity 400. That itself will only allow you to use that at the entity, both at the entity level and at the top level using entity. But there are certain circumstances wherein that check account can only be used at the um, like entity 400, but it should be done at the top level. All right. So what you can do is that you can add an additional control. So while the check account itself doesn't allow us to add a custom field, but we know that every check account is tagged to a particular GL account, and this GL account will just be exclusive for this bank account in this instance. So with that, we can have a custom field defined on the GL account itself. So that um, custom fields being applied to GL account, it can be of a data type checkbox, and you can label it, let's say, top level only. So what happens is that when that GL account is, if I open up this GL account here, so which means that if that's checked, I can only apply this GL account, let's say, for AP payment at the top level. All right. I will not be able to use that at all at the entity level, even if I have a restrict GL account there. So which means that I can only process transaction at the top level. So in this case, we will use this custom field defined on the GL account that is being tagged on the check account to apply that control. So we can create a smart rule just like this one. So in this example, we'll only be processing um, an AP payables payment. So which means that we have certain conditions in here, just like this one. So if the top level only is true, which is checked in this case, and AP payment ME location ID is equal to empty. So if it's being filled out, because when you process, let's say, an AP payment at the entity level, it tries to tag, the location or the entity on a transaction. So if this is not met, meaning if you create a payment at the entity level, then it will try to tag it against that entity, which means that this condition is not being met, so it will error out. All right. And just like this one here, if this is not true, then meaning if it's checked, regardless of whether you create it, if it's not checked, meaning the top level at the entity at the GL account is not checked, then you can process a payment either at the um, entity level or at the top level. All right. So let's try this as an example. So I have here this um, bank account, 400 SVB, right? And the tag GL account has been checked that I can only use it at the top level. All right. So let's process an AP payment. We go to accounts payable. Let's start with the entity level. So top level only, I shouldn't be allowed to process a payment at the entity level for 400 SVB. All right. process the payment in here. Just change it to record transfer. Then 400 SVB. This is the one. And let me process this payment. All right. So if I click on Pay Now and click on Save, so notice in here that I'm not able to process any payment at all. So let's try this again. Okay. So it's not allowing me to do the payment, right? So which means that um, I can only process the payment at the top level. And usually, let me try some other um, invoice in here if we can have a better error message. Yep, I think that's it. So sometimes it just gives us the message in here at the top saying that there was an error. All right. And yeah, let me just try it again. So we have at entity level in here. Change this again. So 400 SVB. I'll just use this one here. Save it. Okay. It's not allowing me, so I need to save. But as I mentioned earlier, there's usually an error in here giving us that smart rule. But anyway, we're not able to process any payment at all, which means that we are restricted from doing so, right, at the entity level. Because again, the GL account tagged to the check account being used as a payment is tagged as top level only. But let's process the payment at top level this time. So I should be allowed to process a payment, right? So change this to record transfer. And we have 400 SVB. That's the account with a restriction that it can only be used as a payment at the top level. And I'll just use a smaller amount here. And let's click on Pay Now. And as expected, I was able to process the payment, even because of that restriction that it can only process a payment at the top level. And that's what happened anyways, because I was processing at the top level. So, yep, hopefully this quick demonstration helps just to prevent a check account from being used at entity level, even if you have the standard restriction on the check accounts. The restrictions tab in here that you can choose a location or location group that this check account can be used to, but there are certain requirements wherein this check account will never be used at all at the entity level. Even if you have that restriction, it can only be used at the top level. So you can make use of the solution instead. Thank you.